Good morning and welcome back to Coffee with Toffees, the Dota 2 morning show. I'm joined in the studio today, as you can see, by my son, Toffees Jr. We're on a bit of a test run. Starting next week, he will be joining me for most of the shows, whether here or next to the computer in his seat as he relaxes in the morning. So we wanted to see how that would go today as we got this show underway. You can follow me at Toffees_Dota2 as usual. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/Toffees is a great way to do it. We try to keep the sponsors out. We want to keep working on doing that. The only way we can do it is with your grassroots support. So get on the ball, and last but not least, if you want to join us, we have a chat room over on Steam. It's Toffees Coffee W/Toffees, and you can talk to me pretty much anytime on there, play some viewer games, things like that. So a lot of fun. So let's get into the show. It's a short one today. There's not a ton of new news. First and foremost, pro news. Nothing new. Everything's pretty much exactly the same. Everyone's traveling, going to tournaments. Nothing major in terms of actual team composition. That's not to say there isn't tournament news, though, which we'll go straight into. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Gigabyte Challenge. It is a smaller tournament, almost exclusively Russian, but it's moving into its land phase, and the teams, actually it's moving quickly through its land phase, I should say. And right now, the lineups at this point are the end of round 3. We're looking at Empire versus M5 International versus AS versus Duza. The winner of each of those games will go on to the finals, where they'll take home, I think it was about $4,000. So not a huge tournament, but at least worth mentioning, as it's not bad size tournament on the European scene. So I expect Empire and M5 Int to be actually a pretty good game. And I think that one of those teams will very likely take home the overall victory. So, Gigabyte Challenge almost over. Little piece of news here that I think was interesting is the Join Dota Masters, a tournament that we really hadn't heard a ton about, was being reborn, or was scheduled to be reborn today, but due to some issues with planning and things of that nature, it looks like it's going to be pushed off, and there's no date for its return. So, Malistrix posted online, and he said that essentially with scheduling issues and some things with the teams, there was just no way for them to get the tournament up and running. Now, the whole point of this is it's like stage 2 of the JDL. You work your way into the JDL, then you get into Join Dota Masters, and maybe you go to a Star Ladder version of Join Dota, is the theory behind it from what I understand. But here's my beef. It's in partnership with Dailymotion, which means we've got to watch the tournament on Dailymotion, which means none of us are going to watch the tournament, so no one really cares that it's delayed. No offense, Join Dota, I love your stuff, but man, this Dailymotion crap's got to stop until they update their servers. Last time I watched it, it was laggy, it was gross, the chat was bad, and at the end of the day, here we are, and we're not all that mad about the Dailymotion cancellation, I'm not going to lie to you. Let's see, what are we looking at now? The Synergy League. So Synergy League, which has been covered by Join Dota, has announced some changes to their LAN final. A big team that was supposed to be there no longer can go, and that is Newbie. We're not surprised. They dropped out of the Star Ladder recently, Star Ladder LAN, so why wouldn't they drop out of the Synergy League, which is a lot smaller? So they drop out, and as does Aftershock. Now, Aftershock was a bit more surprising. This is a team that would have been really excited to be in this tournament, but they could not travel to Russia from Sweden as they couldn't get their visas through. So more visa issues for these players as these tournaments continue. We're going to have more tournaments in the U.S. because apparently there's no visa issues here. That said, though, it looks like the step-ins are going to be M5 International, who's doing very well, as we just talked about, in the Gigabyte Challenge, and Denial Esports, a classic name in esports that we don't get to see very often. So looking forward to that. The final roster for the LAN final is going to be VG, Invasion, Moscow 5 International, Empire, Hellraisers, Power Rangers, and Denial. And I'm going to be honest with you, pretty sure VG is going to take home this cash. So looks like a nice, easy cash win for them. Let's move forward. All right, so as far as tournament news goes, I think this is relevant. Forseer's contract came out, and we're going to cover this in the other news segment, but we'll jump to it now just for a minute and talk about the change in Forseer's contract that is relevant. And Forseer's contract, by the way, is the new patch that's on its way out for those of you who are competitive play, for competitive play in general, and that is that Broodmother and the Phoenix are entering Captain's Mode. Now, they're not in yet, but the patch should be on track to drop before the Summit 2 starts, which means that the Summit may be the first large professional tournament that features these two new heroes. And these are very heavy heroes. Phoenix, of course, already a pretty powerful hero if you play all pick, is going to be in a captain's mode. So I'm excited to see how he's played out. There's a lot of speculation about how Broodmother will work out inside of the captain's draft model. So both of those heroes on their way in. If you are a casual gamer who likes to captain's draft ranked on your weekend, you need to go and you need to practice these two heroes because they're going to come in, and I can guarantee you a few things. You need to play a game as them to beat them, and that is something that I can 100% promise you. You don't know how to counter a Brood or a Phoenix until you've played it yourself, so go try out those heroes. Recommendation from the Toffmeister. Alright, and the last piece of tournament-ish news is that if you go over to Gozu Gamers, there is an interview with Master Ramen. It's the truth behind the 322 scandal with Arrow Gaming. So it's something to check out. There's a lot. It's a very dense article. I don't have time to get into all of it here, but we went through the 322 when it happened, the situation with Arrow Gaming and Mineski. This focuses on Arrow Gaming, and it's got some really good information, but like I said, it would take a whole show to discuss. We may get a little more into detail on it Friday if I can dismantle it a bit more for you, but I don't know if we'll have time with the guests that are stopping by. So check that out. That is definitely worth a look. Other news going on right now. Back to the first year's contract. The big news is the Manifold. What's it called here? The big release for the Arcane for the Phantom Assassin. There it is. It is going to be called the Manifold Paradox. And this is the reason that we didn't get a Dire Tide this year, because they said they had something big in the works over at Valve. And what that big thing is the release of Oracle, a new hero, as well as the Manifold Paradox event. It's supposed to be a really cool event with contracts and tons of gear you can win and all kinds of neat stuff. But here's the catch. You got to pay to play. You got to pre-order Manifold Paradox now. It's 20% off. That puts you at $27.99 for the price. If you wait until the event actually goes live to see if it's cool or not, you got to pay $35 or something ridiculous like that. Yes, it makes your PA look boss. Yes, it has some cool effects, but this seems like the start to something that Valve may be doing a lot in the future. So if you don't like it, don't buy it and let them know it's a bad idea. If you like it, buy it, play in the event. It's going to be a good one, I'm sure. So that is just something to really keep in mind as you go forward with the purchase process on this Arcana, is that it's going to sort of set the tone for where it goes from here. Also, some new boxes, the Charm of Defender's Vision, so a lot of stuff coming with this update. And by the way, also read a note. Somebody made a comment. Blaze was talking yesterday and said he was annoyed that the new Super Creep model only applied after you get all racks. I've heard a rumor that the coding has been changed so that Super Creeps are applied after the first set of racks are down, so you get them right away. I can't guarantee that, so I'll have to double check it, but just so you know, we are working on every angle. Last piece of news in terms of Dota right now. Valve talks about DDoSs and fixes. So if you have been playing on US East or European West, I believe they said in particular, you've seen tons of issues. And it's not just lag issues. There have been lag spikes, but usually those goes away pretty quickly. These have been outages where you're down for 15 minutes or more, you're disconnected from the game, there's nothing you can do to move, packet loss is near 100%. And the reason for that, Valve has just announced, is DDoS attacks. So the thing that has frustrated tournament organizers and players for the last 6 months has now gone to the casual player as well. The actual Valve servers are being DDoSed and the entire data centers are going down. That means all of US East, which is a massive data center, are being DDoSed. And that's not the kind of thing that a casual 14-year-old does on a Friday night. This is some pretty big stuff. So Valve has announced they're doing workarounds. They're trying to fix it. They're stopping the DDoS attacks on a case-by-case basis, which means that their programmers are hustling to get it fixed. And that's why you may be down for